Mama cut a wisdom tooth when she was 79. Now it's the end, they say. The world is changing horribly. GBS. 13th April, 1901. What a day. I must write to you about it because there is no one else who didn't hate her mother or even who doesn't hate her children. Whether you are an Italian peasant or a superwoman, I cannot yet find out, but anyhow, your mother was not the enemy. Why does a funeral always sharpen one's sense of humor and rouse one's spirits? This one was a complete success. No burial horrors, no mourners in black sniveling and wallowing in induced grief. Nobody knew except myself and Granville Barker and the undertaker. Since I could not have a splendid procession with lovely colors and flashing life and triumphant music, I thought it was best with us three. I particularly mentioned the undertaker because the humor of the occasion began with him. I walked to the crematorium with Barker, and there came also the undertaker presently with his hearse, which the horse had walked conscientiously at a funeral pace through the cold, though my mother would have preferred an invigorating trot. The undertaker approached me in the character of a man shattered with grief, and I, hard as nails, rejoicing irrepressibly in my mother's memory, tried to convey to him that this professional chicanery, as I took it to be, was quite unnecessary, and lo, it wasn't professional chicanery at all. Turned out he had been doing all sorts of work for her for years, and he was actually really in a state about losing her. And the coffin was covered in violet cloth, not black. I must rewrite that burial service. There are things in it that are deader than anyone it has been read over. Still, with all its drawbacks, it is the most beautiful thing that can be read as yet. And the parson did not gabble in the horrible manner common on such occasions. With just Barker and myself for his congregation and Mama, he did it with his utmost feeling and sincerity. At the passage, earth to earth, ashes to ashes, dust to dust, there was a slight alteration of the words to suit the process. A door opened in the wall, and the violet coffin mysteriously passed out through it and vanished as it closed. People think that door the door of the furnace, but it isn't. I went behind the scenes at the end of the service and I saw the real thing. People are afraid to see it. It is wonderful. I found there the violet coffin opposite another door. A real, unmistakable furnace door this time. When it lifted, there was a plain little chamber of cement and fire brick. No heat, no noise, no roaring draught, no flame, no fuel. It looked cool, clean, sunny. You would have walked in or put your hand in without misgiving. And then the violet coffin moved again and went in, feet first. And behold, the feet burst miraculously into streaming ribbons of garnet-colored, lovely flame, smokeless and eager like Pentecostal tongues. And as the whole coffin passed in, it sprang into flame all over. And my mother became that beautiful fire. The door fell. They said if we wished to see it all through to the end, we should come back in an hour and a half. I remembered the wasted little figure with the wonderful face and said too long to myself, but off we went. When we returned, the end was wildly funny. Mama would have enjoyed it enormously. We looked down through an opening in the floor, and there we saw a roomy kitchen with a big cement table and two cooks busy at it. They had little tongs in their hands, and they were deftly and busily picking nails and scraps of coffin handles out of Mama's dainty little heap of ashes and samples of bone. Mama herself being at that moment leaning over beside me, shaking with laughter. And then they swept her up into a sieve and shook her out so that there was a little heap of ashes and a little heap of bone scraps. And Mama said in my ear, "Which of the two heaps do you suppose is me?" And that merry episode was the end, except for making dust of the bone scraps and scattering them on a flower bed. O grave, where is thy victory? And so good night, friend, who understands about one's mother and other things. Good night.